I did something horrible, and I'm not sure if I can live with myself. I'm not entirely sure why I'm writing this. Maybe it's a desperate attempt at salvation, a selfish effort to offload my guilt onto these lines and out of my body. Or perhaps it's because I need confirmation of what a terrible person I am and how I should live the rest of my life accordingly. For context, I was born into a very dysfunctional family. My parents' marriage was doomed from the start. My father was a violent alcoholic, and my mother was emotionally fragile, providing motherly care with cold and unfeeling hands. I grew up with domestic violence at home and severe bullying at school. My father was extremely violent and frequently drove under the influence with my siblings and me in the car. He was also often verging on inappropriate behavior towards us. I was sexually abused for the first time at 13. At 14, after 4 reports to the local authorities and 2 suicide attempts, I was finally placed in foster care. I ended up in an institution where I started using drugs, leading to addiction. This resulted in my involvement in very bad environments, leading to another instance where I'm abused at 15 and yet another at 17. My drug use escalated to the point where I began prostituting myself at 15. The authorities gradually gave up on me and my reckless behavior, placing me in my own apartment at 17, which only worsened my addiction. One night, I took far too many drugs and became extremely ill, vomiting and lying on the ground, unresponsive. My vision blurred and I temporarily lost my sight and hearing. Lying there, I thought I was going to die. I had lost all control over my body and senses. It felt surreal, lying there in what I once thought was my immortality. But I made it through the night, and the next morning, everything had changed. My entire personality seemed to shift. It felt as if something had changed in my brain. I became incredibly aggressive. Despite everything, I had never been aggressive before. I was always calm, a pushover who couldn't set boundaries. I had never experienced intense anger until that day. I destroyed my entire apartment. The urge to hit things was immense and gave me intense satisfaction, which only intensified when I ran out of drugs, which was often. At this point, I was 17 years old. I also became extremely paranoid. I had episodes where I would lie on the floor, hyperventilating for hours as the world spun around me. I would hit myself in the head repeatedly, almost wanting to tear my hair out. There was only peace when I got my drugs. Then everything stood still and nothing hurt anymore. I also started hearing voices and seeing things. I found myself in many bad environments, including a friend of mine and his family living on a farm. We all did drugs together. The family had many animals, including dogs. In hindsight, it's clear that they were forcibly breeding dogs to sell them to the highest bidder. One day, while at the farm, high on drugs, the mother placed a puppy in my lap and said I could buy him. She said that it seemed like just what I needed. He was a half German Shepherd, half Pit Bull mix. I took him home. I was selfish, wanting a puppy, a best friend, a relationship. I had Chino for 4 months. I tried to do my best for him. I bought toys, food, and a bed for him. I briefly read online about what to do and what not to do, but I was ultimately completely unprepared for the task. It was the stupidest decision and absolutely terrible conditions for a puppy. It ended up with me hitting him. It didn't take long before I had one of my blackouts where I became incredibly aggressive. In the 4 months I had him, I hit him multiple times. If he chewed my debit card, preventing me from getting money for drugs, or if he had an accident indoors, these were all normal situations to face when raising a puppy. He was afraid of me. There was nothing safe for him in that home. Although I cared for him, my version of love was completely twisted. To Chino, I became what my parents were to me. After having Chino for 1 to 2 months, I turned 18, resulting in the authorities evicting me from my apartment. The system that had supported me my whole life suddenly didn't care. It felt like an additional betrayal. I became homeless with Chino. I slept on the streets, feeling utterly lost and alone in the world. I was a broken person who had long since drowned, and I selfishly dragged Chino down with me. After 4 months with Chino, I decided I couldn't care for him the way he deserved. No matter how sick it sounds, I really did love him. I loved him, and I hurt him. I found an animal shelter that took in dogs for a fee. It was a place that provided the right training and ensured they went to the right families. I took him there and saw him for the last time being led into the shelter, distracted by a toy from one of the handlers. I broke down completely, but also felt relieved. I called the shelter periodically in the following months to check on him. He had been affected by everything he had been through. He was understimulated and clearly traumatized. But fortunately, they found him a family in the countryside with several large dogs. It was the best news in the world. Today, I am 26 years old. I am studying at university. I am completely clean and free from all drugs. I live in my own apartment, have a boyfriend, and have no contact with my biological parents. But I am haunted. Chino haunts me, or rather, it is my actions that do. The better I get, the more I can feel and sense, and the more I feel my overwhelming guilt. I think of Chino when I lie in bed at night, when I find myself laughing and actually being happy with my life. A part of my humanity disappeared with Chino, a humanity that vanished by my own actions, and I will never get it back. Never. Of all the things I have experienced, these actions are the worst that have ever happened to me. I love animals, but every time I see a dog or find myself looking at a cute dog, a stone forms in my heart. I don't feel like I deserve to be happy. I feel selfish, even trying to move on. A part of me desperately wants to forget it. I look at other people who have never harmed anyone and think how blessed they are without knowing it. I feel like a horrible person. I am unsure if I should tell my boyfriend. I feel like he has the right to know the kind of person he is with, even though I am not like this anymore at all. Should I tell him? I have lost all my aggression today after many years of therapy. I had apparently developed a severe psychosis that lasted for several years. I also stopped hearing voices, and the paranoia vanished completely. My psychosis also led to intense social anxiety, and today I constantly fear hurting others, that I will lose all control over my body and harm others. I no longer trust myself or my body. In a way, I understand why my parents never admitted what they had done, because it is unbearable to live with. Knowing you have forever tainted the world with your actions, and that there is nothing you can do to take it back. No matter how good I am today and how many good deeds I do, I will never be able to take it back. It has become my legacy and my eternal curse.